Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of WTWO's Beyond the Stands. I'm joined by another one of our high school basketball teams that made semi-state. I'm talking about the Parke Heritage Wolves. They're no strangers to playing at semi-state. And joining me today, first of all, is head coach Rich Schelsky. Coach, nice to see you.
Yeah, good seeing you, Rick. Thanks for having us on.
And also joining me is one of his star players. He won't admit that, but is his own son, Treigh Schelsky. Treigh, good to see you.
Yep, good to see you too.
All right, let's talk some Wolves basketball. Coach, I'll start with you. I mentioned you're no stranger to playing this time of year. Third straight year in semi-state. Never happened for your program. I know it hasn't been around that long, but still, 3 straight times to make it to semi-state. How big of a deal is that for you guys?
It's a huge deal. I mean, it's really a remarkable accomplishment. You know, right now we're in the moment, so you don't really have time to sit back and reflect. But, you know, the past 2 seasons, whenever we've been knocked out and, you know, you take a little break after the year's over, you know, when you reflect, you're like, man, what these guys are doing is incredible. And, you know, to do it a third time, and especially this year, you know, obviously we had a lot of expectations placed upon us, and probably rightfully so from the beginning. But then to deal with some of the injuries that we've had to deal with and, you know, changing kind of our style of play and, you know, different rotations and all that, for us to do what we've done is just a true mark of what these kids are about and what they're made of. And honestly, it shows just truly how good of basketball players they are. I mean, I've said it to our people at the pep sessions after our wins in the sectional and the regional. You know, these are and it's no slight on some of my other teams because we've had some great teams, but this is the smartest group of basketball players that I've had, and it allows us to, you know, adapt and adjust, and we're excited, and I'm really proud of these guys.
Treigh, I mean, I played high school basketball and I was lucky to win be a part of a sectional championship team. It's special. I mean, it's something you'll never forget. You, in your high school career, you're a junior. You've won 3 sectional championships and 3 regional championships. Do you realize how special that is?
I don't think I fully realize it yet, but it's kind of unbelievable to think about. I think he said it in the locker room after this past weekend. A lot of the guys in our locker room have never lost a sectional game and never lost a regional game now, so it's pretty crazy to think about.
That is pretty cool. I mean, just how much, Treigh, do you guys live for this time of year in this moment? I mean, you make a name for yourself this time of year.
We do, and I think we obviously value the regular season, and we try to enjoy it as much as we can. But when it comes down to March, I think everyone on our program realizes what we're about.
What you're about is winning, certainly. You win a lot during the regular season, and you win a lot in the postseason. Coach, 3rd straight year to semi-state. Last 2 years, you lost to the state champs in Brownstown Central, lost to Linton, who finished state runner-up. What does that mean about your program when you get knocked out? I mean, you're getting knocked out to the best teams in the state.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for us, yeah, we've the last 2 years ran into a couple buzzsaws, and you know, if you look at, you know, our short history as a school, and, you know, what is this, the 4th time in 5 years that we've been here, and we pushed through back in 21 only to run up against Fort Wayne Blackhawk, who, you know, obviously beat us in the state championship game. The one unique thing about all of those was, you know, we've always been knocked out by a high-level D1 guy, you know, no knock on any of the teams we're getting ready to face this weekend. But that's not there anymore, and you know that, you know, so from that standpoint, you know, obviously is a little different. But I mean, it just, you know, for us, it shows that, you know, our guys can play, and we have really good players, and obviously the one sitting next to me kind of drives the bus, and he doesn't like to take a lot of credit. I don't give him a lot of compliments, so he probably needs to hold.
We'll get into that in a bit.
He probably needs to hold his ears today because Coach/Dad will be pretty complimentary today. But you know, we have good players and their experience, and, you know, they've put themselves in those positions, and, you know, just we're excited to see what can happen this weekend.
Treigh, you obviously third year, you're a junior in the program, but you grew up with the program, obviously, with your dad, the head coach. I know you wanted to play for the Wolves, wanted to play for your dad. Has it been everything you thought it would be so far in your career?
It's been even more. I remember, like he was talking about the team back in 21, I was always just a little water boy, and I took pride in that, by the way. But just seeing seeing that journey that they took to get to state, and just realizing that how close we've been the last 2 years, and I'm just excited that we're right back there with another opportunity this weekend.
You speak of that. I mean, you saw that team go to state. That's every kid's dream. You kind of got to live it a little bit as the water boy, but now as the player and getting as close as you did the last 2 years, but not being able to get to state. How hungry are you to take that next step and get to state this year?
Very hungry. I think our whole group has been since we lost last year. We obviously knew what we had coming back, and obviously we've had some injuries this year, but we haven't let that define us. And I think we're all very hungry.
I want to thank our sponsors of the show, Crow Equipment Incorporated and Andrews Heating and Air Conditioning, your 2018 American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning, building a higher standard award winner. For quality and reliability you can depend on, call Andrews Heating and Air Conditioning, 765-832-9401. Let's talk a little bit about your semi-state. Obviously, you play Forest Park. Linton, no stranger to you guys, takes on University. Coach, I guess, first of all, how do you see the regional with the 4 teams there? It might not have a D1 player in it, but still very competitive semi-state.
Oh, I think it's a highly competitive semi-state with 4 really good teams. The team we're playing, we played them last year at this stage, and the remarkable thing about them, they're very similar to us. They've had a couple guys go out with injuries that were returning players for them, and honestly, they graduated their 2 best players from last year. So for them to make it back, it just shows how good of a basketball program Forest Park has. And, historically they've always been good basketball-wise. Tough kids, hard-nosed, they really guard you. They're physical. That game, the 10:30 game Saturday, will not be a game for the weak at heart because it's going to be a knockdown, drag-out game. Our guys know what they're in for with that one. But, in the other game, obviously we know Linton as well as anybody. And, University plays a really good schedule. That game, I just think every game, potential matchup in this semi-state will be really good games, and any team could win. And, that obviously adds excitement to the fans and for the tournament. So it should be a really fun day.
Parke Heritage takes on Forest Park 10:30 a.m. Saturday afternoon. Or I guess Saturday morning it would be, at the 2A Washington Semi-State at the Hatchet House. And Treigh, I know you just want to play basketball, but getting to play at the Hatchet House, I've said this time and time again, that's my favorite high school gym in the state. I don't care. There's a lot of great gyms, but it's my favorite. Are you excited to get to play at that historic venue?
I'm super excited. Going back once again to that 21 team, obviously their semi-state was there when they played Southridge, and I remember every moment of that game like it was yesterday. And then getting to see North play there in their crazy game this past weekend. I've always wanted to go back there. So whenever we were watching the draw this past Sunday, I was super excited when I saw that's where we were.
You keep mentioning that 2021 team, and for good reason. The only one to make it to state. They went through the Hatchet House, as you said. You think maybe history is on your guys' side here a little bit?
I sure hope so. I mean, it feels like it, but we know it's going to be a challenge. But we also feel like we have everything what it takes to get through that.
Coach, I mentioned to Treigh, that 2021 team went to the Hatchet House. Are you that kind of history will repeat itself, or are you not superstitious like that?
I'm pretty superstitious. I thought fate was on our side a little bit when we got announced to go to Washington. But again, like Treigh said, you got to still go play the games, and we have a extremely difficult game in this first game because of the way they play, and they're pretty hot right now, and it was a big win they had Saturday. So it's good because we're comfortable with the surroundings, and we even though none of these guys were really on the team or anything, Treigh was a manager, he practiced with us, so he's got some familiarity with it. So I think that plays a little bit, but at the end of the day, when the ball gets thrown up, it's going to be whoever plays the best wins.
Coach, I got to ask you, you mentioned already the injuries. You have a ton of good players on your team. It's no secret. But you've taken a couple key injuries this season. One, Ren Harper, 1,000-point scorer. He's not the leading scorer on your team, but he does so many things well for your team. He goes down. Then you also have a freshman, Joel Miller, who was giving you minutes. He goes down with injury. How proud are you of your team to be able to overcome these injuries and still have the season that you're having?
I don't think I could express it in words. I mean, for that, obviously Ren happened earlier we had a little bit of time, with Joel, honest, and, Joel Miller any other year in our program is a full-time varsity player. But because we have so many experienced players, for the betterment of his development, he had to play JV for, the first part of the year. And, we tried to slowly bring him up. And, when Ren went down, then it was obviously it was automatic. It was Joel's time, and he was playing great before he went down. And Ren, you can't replace a Ren. Like, he's our best athlete, probably best perimeter defender. He's, kind of a jack of all trades. He's always been a great shooter. Like, that's obviously been his strongest suit. When we can get Treigh downhill and we have Ren and BT on each side, and Treigh's got options to kick, that makes us really hard to guard. So a little bit of that went away. But, to have all that happen, and literally with Joel going down, it was the last, right before the last week of the regular season, and we had 2 games that week, so it wasn't like we had a full week of practice. We played on Friday night, and then we had to turn around and play again Tuesday against Linton, so we had to change some things up big time in a matter of one day, basically. And like I said earlier, for these guys to do that. And to be able to adapt that quickly just says a lot about their basketball IQ, and that's the most proud I am of this team. Everybody loves the winning and all that, but it's the fact that they can endure all that, not miss a beat, not take a skip or anything like that. They've just been steady and gone on, and again, that's a mark of winners, and that's what we've got.
Treigh, I got to ask, you hate to see teammates go down. I know, Joel, you've had a little bit, but you've known Ren obviously a lot longer. How much are you, wanting to win and keep these guys going and win for them at this point right now, too?
Oh, 100%. And we not joke about it, but we tell Ren all the time. I remember telling him, I can't remember if it was a sectional championship or the regional championship, but I was like, we're going to keep going for you, dude. And I think for Joel, too, obviously. But I know how bad, ever since last year, how bad Ren's wanted to get back here, obviously for his senior year. And we want to send out all 3 of our seniors out with a bang. So our goal is obviously to keep going.
I want to remind people the new way you can find Beyond the Stands. You can find it on Spotify, CastBox, Pocket Cast, and iHeartRadio. Okay, so Treigh, most teams, I guess, you could be a 20, 25-point scorer. I think you average 12, 13 points a game. Like, I don't want to say you put your ego to the side, but how much more important is winning to you than putting up the stats?
Oh, winning is everything. Like you said, I do agree. I think I could score, not to sound like that, but I could score a lot on another team. But that's never what it's been about with me. I think actually each year my averages have decreased, and that's perfectly fine with me because our other guys have stepped up huge, and I think it shows how great of an all-around team we have.
Coach, I got to ask you, you're his coach, his dad. I'm on the sidelines and can film sometimes. I don't know if people can hear all the time. You're harder on him than anybody else. Just talk about that dynamic of coaching your son.
Obviously it's my first experience. I've got another one coming up that, to be quite honest, might do me in. But we'll cross that bridge when he gets up there. But it's been fantastic. It's been I don't want it to end. And, now that he gets old, as he's getting older, I actually, thought of this last week. I was like, dang, we're down to one more run. That's it. Like, he's going to be a senior next year. But it's been a lot of fun. Obviously Treigh is a basketball guy, so he eats, sleeps, and drinks it. I try not to take it home with us. We try to be as normal as we can outside of the court. Sometimes that maybe doesn't always happen, but we try to, maintain that kind of separation. But, it's been the thrill of my lifetime. And like I said earlier, I don't give him a lot of compliments. The one thing I had a bunch of coaches texting me Saturday on the bus on the way home, and, college coaches. And I told them, and I get in Treigh's situation and the way college recruiting is now. I understand all the, the different intricacies that go into that now, and it's so much different. But at the end of the day, Treigh's greatest attributes, he's a winner. And, you can't you can't not recruit that. So, that's kind of my deal with Treigh. And Treigh said it, his average has decreased. We really leaned on him as a freshman, which to me was maybe one of the most impressive high school seasons the kids had, around here in a long time, to be the leader of the team as a freshman and to get your team to the semi-state. And not only, that, but all the defense was focused on him. But for him to allow his other teammates to develop, and just like he said, he wants to win, and he's a point guard, so his adaptation as a player has to me been just tremendous, and it just speaks volumes of him as a kid. And I'm looking forward to this weekend, and like I said, we've got one more in us after this, and we're going to make the best of it. And I'm, as much as I get intense and all that, I am honestly next year going to try to enjoy some moments with him and remember that it's our last ride.
So Treigh, I've heard him coach you, coach Dad. He gets on you more than anybody. How much though do you appreciate that, and how much do you enjoy playing for your dad?
Oh, I appreciate it a bunch. I wouldn't want it any other way. He's always been tough on me, not just in high school. A lot of people haven't seen that, but even growing up, he might have even been harder on me growing up. But I think that's made me what I am today. And like I said, I wouldn't want it any other way.
Now, he mentioned your little brother. I've heard about him. I heard he's really good. I heard he might be able to beat your records. Is your little brother pretty good?
He's pretty good. Everything you hear is probably true, but he's a wild card, so you guys will have to wait and see.
I won't say he'll make your dad go bald because we already know that case. Maybe more gray in the beard, though.
Oh, for sure.
Coming up. Coach, different situation for you this year. You've always had the guards and, I guess, a forward in Crum. You got the big guy this year that Parke Heritage really never had any of the last 3 years. How big of a difference has Isaac Pickle been for you?
Oh, he's been huge. Obviously, anybody that's watched us play can see that right away. And, it's not just Isaac, I think, like Carter had a tremendous season last year as a freshman. He was tasked with filling a very big role on a really good team. But his development, Carter's development this year between the end of last season and now, to me, and a lot of it has to do with, both of them, Carter and Isaac, again, basketball guys, they put a lot of time in outside of the season. They go against each other every day. When we do individual stuff and one-on-one stuff, it's those guys going against each other. They've made each other better. And, with Isaac, that length, and, he's got obviously a lot of bounce to him, a lot of length, and, a defensive presence at the rim that we haven't had. And, the funnest thing has been watching the chemistry with those two guys. How quickly that came into fruition, and then how it's grown. To me, they're we've played 28 games, and we really haven't played anybody on our schedule that's had better post players than us. And honestly, and I kind of talked about it with our guys on yesterday while we were watching film. One thing we didn't probably do as well as we would have liked last Saturday, we didn't get Carter and Isaac involved enough. And, obviously that's going to be a focal point this week because we're at our best when we play through them because they present a lot of matchup issues. But, and the best thing about Isaac, he just like the rest of them, is a great teammate. It's been really cool at the pep sessions, sectional and regional, and to listen to guys talk about Isaac and thanking him for being here and all of that. And then, of course, I made them all talk last week because only the seniors talked after the sectional win. I said, the heck with that. Everybody's gonna get the microphone tonight. And to listen to Isaac express his feelings about being welcomed, and it's like he's been here forever. And that to me is the cool part too. That sometimes those types of things that can be tough. If a kid moves in and takes somebody's spot. Our kids have totally accepted him, and he's with him and Carter. We have that makes us as good of defensive rebounding team as there is around. And again, that's not a flashy part of the game, but it's a huge part of winning and losing games. And when those guys pull down big defensive rebounds, it doesn't make a guy like Treigh have to rebound quite as much as he's had to in the past and things like that. So he's been huge, and honestly, he's just scratching the surface. He's going to get better. He really is. He's got a lot of potential, and some of the things that we see in practice, he's not quite confident yet to do in games. But Isaac's got a lot of game, and that obviously, as the coach, that's going to be my job between now and next season to kind of pull that out of him and get him to, because he does some things in practice. You're like, holy cow, but understandable. He's trying to find his way with this team and all of that, and I fully believe we haven't seen even close to the best of Isaac Pickle until probably mid-season next year.
And Treigh, what's it like? I mean, you've always kind of been a guard-oriented team. Carter Crum is a nice post player, but doesn't have the size that Pickle does. What's it like to have a post player that in defense? Maybe if a guy gets by you, he's protecting the rim, or you throw it in the post and he's going to maybe dunk it. What's it like to play with the big guy finally?
It's awesome. Like he's like my dad said, especially with both of them together. Playing through the post, it makes things way easier. A lot for the guards, throwing it in there, and then a lot of teams like to dig down, so that's easy kick-out threes for us. But no, Isaac's great, both, like you said, both offensively and defensively. He definitely has had the most blocked shots out of any player we've ever had. And then, one of my favorite things is getting downhill and being able to dump it off to him for a dunk. We've never had dunkers around here, really.
So he loves to dunk.
So I think that's been a big excitement around our team all year, is getting to see a lot of in-game dunks this year. So
I love it. One guy you played a lot with is BT Luce. What is it like to, like you said, you're scoring maybe down a little bit, but when your sister up, you have guys that can knock down shots, and BT certainly is a guy who can shoot with the best of them.
Oh, exactly. BT. I have the utmost confidence that when I throw the ball to BT, it's going in. And obviously, one of my big roles on this team is to get downhill, get in the paint, and create. And it's always been that way. And I feel like me and BT have gotten better each year playing together. And like I said, I have every bit of confidence that the ball is going in and when it leaves his hands.
Okay, Coach. I know his dad. BT's dad, Ryan Luce, and saw his playing career. BT's a heck of a shooter. I pick on Ryan all the time that BT's better. You've seen them both shoot. Who would you say in their prime was a better shooter, BT or Ryan?
Oh, man, I may have to plead the fifth on that one. I don't know. I'll just say that the game's a lot different today.
Come on, I've never known you to chicken out. Come on.
The game's a lot different today, and they're both excellent shooters. I played against Ryan. I'm a couple years older than him. But I will say, like Treigh said, if BT's open, I'm pretty sure it's going in. So I'll leave it at that.
Never known you to shy away from a question. Just disappoint me, Coach. Come on. Okay, so before we wrap it up here, Treigh, this weekend, just if you can win semi-state and go to state, just you were there, like you said, as a manager, but to be able to do it as a player, just how much have you dreamed of this moment coming up this weekend and trying to get to state?
Oh, I've been dreaming about it ever since I was a little kid. And then obviously being able to grow up as a manager and just see all the teams and what it takes to even win a sectional, and let alone get to Indianapolis. And that's always been my goal. Even before getting into high school, was I wanted to play on the big stage, and to know that we're 2 games away. It's unbelievable to think about, and I'm excited for the opportunity this weekend.
Coach, you've been talking about it. I remember talking to you in December, it was, at the Classic, and you were disappointed in how your team placed there, but you said our goals are at the end of the season. Well, you're at those goals. Really, I talk about all the time, Bar Rave has kind of been the standard in our area for the last 20 years. But in the last 4 or 5 years, you guys were really up there with the standard in this area. 3 straight sectional championships, 3 straight regional championships, but no semi-state. I know that's what you're after. If you can win a semi-state and contend for a state title, just your program where it's at, what would it mean to, Parke Heritage basketball to get to state and be able to get that state championship?
Oh, it'd mean everything, and obviously, that's the goal. Like when we came in yesterday and watched film, That's the first thing I said. I said, guys, whether we all want to admit it or not, because we try not to talk about it during the season, but we've now reached the point where we wanted to get to. And in the back of our minds, this is, when the season started, in the middle of the season, this is where we expected to be. And now we're here, and now we've got to go take advantage of it. And, I'm super proud of what we've done in our program, and that, whether we win or lose, obviously that wouldn't change my feelings, but, it would just kind of put a bow on what we've done in such a short amount of time. And our community loves sports, and, they love winning, and there would be nothing better than to bring our community a state championship. And, we're close, and we're going to go play the games and see what happens.
You are close, and there's one thing I know: win or lose, hopefully win this weekend. I would love to see a Linton Parke Heritage semi-state championship, but win or lose, I know Parke Heritage is going to bring it. Guys, best of luck. Parke Heritage takes on Forest Park, 10:30 a.m. Saturday morning at the Hatchet House in Washington at a semifinal in the semi-state. That does it for Beyond the Stands. Remember, you can always follow it on WTWO's MyWabashValley.com. Have a good day.